Welcome to this wonderful episode today. Um, it is kind of unusual, but we got our inspiration from the Netflix series, you know, called the Squid Game. But before we go into that, guys, you may want to stick around to the end of this. Listen, let me just use this to introduce my co-host. I'll go with Matilda.
Hello, everyone. This is Matilda. I am the host of Coffee with Matilda Journey to Self. My podcast is about finding yourself, loving yourself, and coming out of adversity stronger than before. To you, Carla.
I'm Carla, and I'm the host of the Wonder and Wellbeing podcast, which is a podcast for parents and educators and anyone who's interested in education and wellbeing for kids between the ages of 5 and 14 years old. Over to you, Simon.
Hi, I'm Simon Rushton, and my podcast is Taxi Chronicles, where I interview unsuspecting riders as they get in the taxi and they tell me all about their personal affairs. Now they just give us an overview of their life and what it's been like. Basically, they're sharing a gift. So if you want to learn something or enhance your life in any way, my podcast is a thing to listen to. Over to you, Howler.
Yes, so I'm the host of the podcast Women with Stories, where I share real stories from women who rose above different challenges. So check soon for a new episode on Women Stories podcast. Over to you, Nelson.
Okay, and good morning or good afternoon, everyone. This is Nelson J. Zambrano. I am the host of Investing in America, where we talk about how to invest in the United States. Every week, I have an interview with an exciting guest, an entrepreneur, and so we have that. And also, we have the upcoming book and to include YouTube channel. And that is about it for us. Now, over to you, Victor.
Thank you, Nelson. We are eagerly anticipating the book, and the title will be revealed soon to us. First exclusive, to give you some reviews. Yes. So officially, welcome to Podcasters Unleashed. This is our weekly episode where we talk about different types of topics, whatever I won't say float our boat, but whatever intrigues us, we go with the flow. But today's one, the reason why we chose this topic around the context of Squid Game, if you've not watched Squid Game, well, it's a Netflix series, a hit series from Netflix, which has over 100 million people have watched it in less than a month. Which according to Netflix, it is the most played series on Netflix. And this series revolves around a context where 456 players in a particular context. Yeah, these players are in deep financial debt, and they put their lives at risk, to play a series of children's game, and for a chance to win huge. And when I mean huge, it's about 45.6 billion Korean currency. You know, a billion in any currency makes sense in any way. You know, so but it's a Korean movie or a Korean series. So I think you should definitely go check it out. And it is the episodes. Each episode has different story and different you see different human characters coming to play, which is very intriguing for people of our age to be watching something like this with our kids, and we're like, okay, there's some life lessons to be learned here, you know and these episodes are full of deep life lessons, how decisions we make, how little decisions we make like change our realities. They kind of build our blocks, our they kind of build our blocks when we move towards our destiny. These are reality to us. So, and the influence of wealth, poverty, mistakes, a little mistakes here, a little mistake there, how they compound in nearest future. I don't want to bore you too much, but you know how we go here. We will speak to Carla now, who is oh yeah, who is more of a I don't know, an educationist, who see things from a very logical perspective. Yeah. And Carla, one of the things that these players in this series have in common is addiction. They are all in debt and they're looking for a get out. You know, before we go into how they get out of um, financial depression, what do you think are the various forms of addiction that you saw on this series?
Wow, pretty much all of the different types of addiction you can see in the series, and they're limitless. Actually, you can be addicted to pretty much anything because it's not the thing that makes the addiction; it's the behavior and the fact that this thing, whatever it is, has a hold over you. That's what an addiction is. It's like a master, basically, like a slave master. When you're addicted to something, you are a slave to that thing. So in this program, we see all sorts of different types of slavery addiction forms, but obviously it revolves primarily around things like gambling and money related issues. You're muted.
Yeah, Hala, I see you nodding your head there. Have you been in any form of addiction?
Addiction related to money, no, but I've seen people who played in this kind of casinos, and I've seen people who count their money, their last pennies to gamble, which is very depressing to see all these people put in all their money and they think they're gonna win. And also, you can see that atmosphere of wanting to win desperately. And also, you see the person who is monitoring the game, he has no expressions. So if someone lost their money in a game, they just took the money without any expressions, like something normal to do in this kind of gaming things. And yes, that's very depressing. And actually, I have seen a show in Las Vegas where people who end up losing their money. There is a place near Las Vegas which is called Hoover something, and it's a place dedicated for people to suicide after gambling and after losing their money, which is very very depressing. And and yes, I've never been addicted to gambling or or putting money on something to win.
But
So
So,
and thanks God
uh,
for that.
Matilda,
uh,
go.
but are you sure this is happening? I mean, this is like very
Yes,
scary. Yeah, happening.
yeah. It's happening in Las Vegas. Yeah.
Well, Victor, I think any addiction is a bad addiction, and it's very. I mean, I think societies need to put a lot of emphasis on addiction, because when you lose your child over an addiction, when your child is addict of something, you lose your child over it. I mean, let it be drugs, let it be gambling, let it be sex, let it anything. It's very dangerous. So that's why I'm like, you bring a child and then the child is addicted to cocaine. That's it. You're done. I mean, the parents needs to go a lot of hardship to take that, to bring that child back to reality.
But let's just not forget that all the players, the characters were playing in that game, they were in a desperate need for money, and they have all of them. They have a problem of addiction or financial issues, and they have kept in this kind of game because they are desperate, and they have been in this cycle of failing in their life, failing. So for them,
Not the, I think not the Korean character, the North Korean character, which is my favorite character. And I think she should have won the game because she was representing a lot of positive. I mean, she did a lot of wrong things. I'm not advertising that, but her core values were very strong towards her family and towards dedicating her life to bring peace and a better solution for the family, which I think um, they didn't display that quality very well. Whereas the other ones were all selfish reasons for their personal um, joy or their personal um, discomfort that they caused in their life. But hers was a little bit different. She was dedicating it to her family.
Yeah. You
Just
see.
to jump in there, we've got a couple of
Okay.
comments coming. We've got a couple of comments coming in. I will like just to throw in there. I agree with both of what Harold and Matilda are saying. I personally feel that their problem is lack of self-discipline. But that
Hmm.
you can continue on that later on. Hi, Anders. Anders. Anders says a society only for the strong. People already live in a situation where people's character get assassinated. If they lose control over their life, we see people that lives in sorry, the writing's a bit small today for me. Lives in misery conditions are ridiculed through cops and similar TV shows. Nice to have you here. And yes, my cousin's back, really. We feel we all develop small addictions, but it's identifying it early before it takes control. And then Anders comes back again. Let the poor failed people entertain the privilege. And a blast from the past. Sharon, good evening, everybody. Nice to have you here today, Sharon as
Good
well.
evening. Good evening, Sharon. Good evening, Anders and Renee. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah, Simon. You see, we've been talking about desperate. See, what makes people desperate? I know you say it's lack of discipline. Why are people so desperate?
Well, desperation, probably Carlos could probably answer this more than me. But desperation can come for a number of things. If we look back into anybody's upbringing, it's you could be too spoilt and you're not used to not going without, or you could just be tired of not having anything because your parents have been living hand to mouth and you've been missing meals, and you had no education when it comes to money, financial discipline, or financial understanding. So those are just three factors of many different things that we could pinpoint or lead back to today to explain why people are in desperation. It's also as you get older, you've got no real excuse once you're older because you've got the ability to keep certain kind of company and to associate yourself around, let's say, positive or people who are where you want to be. So those are all common factors. Personally, in going back to the Squid Games, you see the main character, which was the man who with the daughter. I just looked at him as very irresponsible. And some people are very comfortable in what they know, and what they know is not a positive thing, but then they have no intentions on changing that. So that would be my answer to that. We just got a
Yeah,
couple of more comments.
okay,
Simon,
go
for
ahead.
once, I'm agreeing with you 100, not 100, 300%. Ding, ding,
Okay,
ding, ding.
that's nice. Rini says expectations of society cause people to become more desperate, wanting more than you need. Nice to have you here, Thomas. If you don't know love, it's hard to hold on to anything when things get bad. That's what Thomas is saying. Back to you, Victor.
Yeah. Speaking of desperation, is it a mindset thing or is just Nelson? Let me bring you in here. Your podcast is about investing in America, and I know you've been in some certain rooms that are filled with high performance individuals and who certainly have made some good decisions in their life. I don't know. And see, you've been in these rooms. How is the mindset of these major players in those rooms? How do they fare compared to, are they desperate? Or what kind of addiction do they have?
I guess you got to look at it from different perspectives, right? One is in those rooms, many of those people, they're all have a well, they've won one way or another, right? And desperate. There's a difference between being desperate, which is, and then having a sense of urgency, right? So there's a kind of a two different things. But as far as it's just different levels, right? There's different levels of. So let's just take care of the desperation part first. I don't know if you guys remember. There's a car called DeLorean. Remember Back to the Future, the movie Back to the Future, right? The DeLorean, that beautiful car DeLorean. Well, that's a real person, by the way. He was he was a senior executive at Chrysler, I think it was, or Ford, very senior guy, and he said, you know what, I can make my own car. He's got a nice, snazzy Italian name. So he went out and said, "Hey, I'm making this car," and he got an agreement with the country of Ireland, had some backing from the British government, went over there. Bottom line is, his company was going under. He had, at the time of his bankruptcy, over 100 million in investments. When it went bankrupt, he 2,500 employees between Ireland, Britain, the U.S. Okay, went out. But what really took him down is that, and by the way, when his company was going down, he tried to get funding from the British government to fund. They said if you could get matching investor money, they would put money in. That didn't happen. But what took him down was drug trafficking. Yes, he was approached by people who said, "Hey, look, we're legitimate investors," but really they were undercover FBI agents in drug trafficking with the DEA. But the fact is that this high-powered former senior executive, I think it was Ford, had contacts with the British government, had opened up a company in Ireland. He was doing Squid Games for real. He was ready to jump into bed with drug traffickers. Okay. So it's not that, oh, these people, these low people down there, and they have a lack of discipline. I don't see it that way. It's very circumstantial. It has a lot to do with the environment and the circumstances that we find ourselves in. So here you have the Lord. We make movies about this guy's cars are made, but he found himself in that situation, and he was willing to maybe even take that risk to get $24 million of drug trafficking money from cocaine smuggling, to have an infusion into his business, to tell the British government, now you guys give me another $24 million and we're good to go. So again, I just kind of want to dispel that whole that these poor people, and they just, hey, sometimes you got to do what you got to do, right? And then when they win, nobody complains, right? So that's the first thing. And then as far as the question on the mindset, um, risk is different. Sometimes risk can be over an extended period of time, doing something monotonous and boring and hoping you get a good result. And sometimes it's someone say, hey, let me take a big gamble and see. So you have both aspects in there. And hopefully I answered the question, Victor. And if not, just let me know.
Yeah, you throw some light, and you kind of gave us a different perspective, because most times, I would say, most times from our conversation, it's just like one-sided, because you are down on your luck is because you made bad decisions. Everyone makes bad decisions, but the aspect of greed and desperation, and you did answer the question. You just even you open it more
All right, just to jump
for
in,
us to like see.
Victor, sorry, we've got some comments here. And there's a big issue now is that people look at other people from their individual power positions. Let me give you an example. Let's say I'm good at sport but really bad at relationships. I then choose to view all fellow people through a lens that's based on my strengths and belittle everyone. They aren't able to live, Scooby. They aren't able to live what I live up to. Instead of being misunderstood, I also have weaknesses. I like that comment, Anders. I really do. Thomas says, I'm from Belfast. I told you about it being Suicide City. Everyone knows someone, or many people that have made the choice. They are brave, wonderful people that the world and people have let down. We will all get better. I'm interested to know, Thomas, how has the world let them down? I'd like you to
Yeah,
expand more on that. Desperations feed bad decisions. Thomas again. I live beside
the
so
Dolerian.
yeah, Delirium factory. Thank you, Victor. That's the one you were talking about. I know of that story as well. Good point about Delirium, guy. And back to you, Victor.
Yeah. So, Carla, if I just circle back to you, do you think there's any correlation between what Nelson is saying and what Anders is saying? Yeah, what Anders is saying.
Absolutely, yeah. I really do think things like, I know I talk about it all the time, but I'm going to use the V word again. The values. I think your values in life determine a lot of things. And I think when you don't know what your values are, or you let someone else determine your values, that is when you're on slippy ground, because greed is a serious issue. It really is. And sometimes we can look at these stories like the story of DeLorean. I think it's a really interesting story, because we can look at them and we can think that it could never happen to me. We can look at people who have addictions. We can look at people whose lives go off the rails, and we can be judgmental, and we can think, oh, that would never happen to me. I would never do that. These greedy people, these rich people, these poor people, these whatever people. But actually, there was a really nice comment I want to go back to from, I think it was Renee. Renee said, feel we all develop small addictions, but it's identifying it early before it takes control over your life. I love that comment, because she points out a really important point there, is that we all have the seeds for addiction. There's none of this, oh, they've got addictions and we haven't. We've all got the seeds there. We've all got the potential, because we're all human. And the difference is things like values, and also what drives us in life. And also, additionally, I think there was the comment there what Anders was saying about our worldview, how we view people, and how we view strengths and weaknesses. Sometimes we can upplay other people's weaknesses and downplay our own, and upplay our strengths. And when we do that, we can lose sight of our life and what's really happening, and lose sight of the reality. And then we can find ourselves spiraling into things like addiction, which then leads to things like debts, which would then lead to things like desperation. And unfortunately, sadly, for some people, as Thomas is pointing out there, to suicide. Because obviously sometimes people get to a point where this situation feels so bad to them. Perhaps it is, or perhaps it's just the way that they're looking at it, that they just want to check out of life altogether, or they want to do things, as Nelson pointed out, that is pretty much so high risk that you would be checking out, like in the case of DeLorean. When you start getting involved with drug trafficking, then you're in real slippy ground. That is real life Squid Game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Keep in mind, with the DeLorean situation, he actually came from a real working class environment in somewhat Bronx or Brooklyn, and he worked his way up and he got into the company. And then when he started to fall on his face, he went back to what he knew. Do you understand? So that was in that circumstances there. I also want to add, there are people who I've met who, let's say, we're in a country where healthcare is not free. If your child's sick, you will do whatever, get into debt, and make whatever reckless decisions just to get medicine to help your child. If your child's got an ongoing sickness, you're going to be forever in that rut. And especially if you've got HIV or something as well, it just compounds and compounds and compounds. So that's just some of the true life stories I've heard personally of people's circumstances to why people can make bad decisions. It's not just always about, we can still look at, I'm kind of going back on what I'm saying partly, there's a self-control element and decisions making, but there is also, you drew the short straw, excuse me, when it came to your children and their health. Back to you, Victor.
Yeah, I agree with that to a certain extent, but then on the other hand, I disagree, because for every person that faces a certain set of circumstances that makes a bad decision, there are other people who face the same or worse circumstances that don't make that decision, make a different decision. And I think the key there is down to things like values and the order in which our values come in life. But also, I do think things like relationships, faith may play a role in some people's lives as well. There are some things that some people just won't do because of their beliefs or whatever, or because of their family connections, their relationships, the love. Someone mentioned earlier, I think it was Thomas, mentioned about love and the importance of love and connection. I know that Gabor Mate, the addictions expert, speaks a lot about the importance of human connection in fighting addiction. And I think his research and findings are pretty good. So I recommend that to anybody who's interested in looking at stuff to do with addictions. And also Renee points out about the expectations of society and how they play a role, because sometimes society is ridiculous. It's not us that's got the problem, it's the prevailing culture in the society. And I know there's been a lot of debate about the US and lots of other westernized or modernized countries and how the prevailing culture promotes materialism, which often doesn't help with people's mindset when it comes to addictions and desperation with regard to money.
Yeah, just a quick one, Matilda, before you go in. This is I know you guys have been pouring in the comments. I would like to see if anyone of the audience, if you've what does get rich quick scheme means to you. So this is part of why they go into the game and just want to get out of just play a game. If they get a quick hand, they get out of the situation that they are. Go ahead, Matilda.
I want to say what Carla was saying about values and principles. From the beginning of the show, you see the guy, a 45-year-old, very healthy man, is sitting there while his mom, which is sick and very old, going to work. And his mom is taking care of, I mean, saying him, "Oh, go take care of your child." So at the beginning, the series are showing us that he's useless. I'm going to use this word because I got very angry from that scene. I didn't want to continue it. In my culture, you don't allow your mom to work. You don't see it when an older person is around you and working hard. That's like a very no. And I think um, besides even the addiction, this human being, the main character, didn't have certain sensors in him in the right way. Um, Maybe if he felt the responsibility, what Simon was saying, he could have gone and
Ma-
worked very hard, 3 jobs, 4 jobs.
Matilda,
Yeah.
Matilda, I feel that character takes listens more of your podcast because you always want things to be this rosy, everything happy
No,
thing,
it's not
something like that.
rosy. It's
So
about,
I think the character listens to your podcast. That's why.
but I think from the beginning, the show is showing us that he's an irresponsible human being without good love. There's no, I mean, you can show love to a cat, but you don't show love to your daughter and your mom. Come on. I don't understand that.
We've just got another two comments coming in. Thomas, the world, as in all of us who inhabit it, are selfish. We naturally want what's best for us and our own, and that has come at a price. And these people who can't handle that self centered way take the hit. The world has been and is wild, yet we are getting there as a world. I know good people will keep raising the standard of love, care, and thought for us. Thank you, Thomas. I believe that's in relation to the comment I asked you. Can you expand on that more? And there's many people that's addicted kill themselves because they fail to end their addiction. Um, Yes, Matilda, Rosie all day. And, okay. I sometimes do understand how people can be drawn in by get rich quick schemes. I have been offered these sorts of things and they have been tempting when I'm in a financial crisis, but I fear the consequences more than I want money. And that is very interesting, that statement, Cuz, because some cultures around the world are big known for gambling, as the Chinese culture, and they don't mind. They can lose it all, and they say, "Well, tomorrow's another day. Maybe I'll win something." So that's very, very interesting when you say that. But back to you, Victor.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I'll go to Hala now. You know what Renee just said now is very very interesting
Mm.
because people are getting greedier. See, and the allure of Hala. How can greed and desperation, even the allure of easy money, get us into this Squid Game reality? I know you brought Squid Game to our attention the first time, so you should be our grandmaster here.
Well, when you see all these 450 players that were in the game, all of them were in desperate need of money, and they had series of failures in their life, and they have kept in that cycle, and they can't get out from it. And when they kept in that cycle, they lose their self-worth and self-respect, and they want to jump in any money game to try to gain money and to gain their self-respect back. And I think this kind of addiction to money, because a lot of people want um, to because psychologists, they have explained that, and a lot of them have a hole in their soul, and they want to um, um, overcome it with gambling. So the psychologists in the rehab for people who are addicted to gambling and addicted to this kind of gaming, they are very desperate to to make this hole disappear in their soul, and try to avoid it by gambling money. So this is a very serious issue for people who are in this kind of situation. And let's just don't forget what also the society is offering, because a lot of societies are capitalist, and which is very depressing. And you see also this value of competition. You have a lot of people compete against each other. You have it in a lot of Western countries. You have it a lot all in Arabic countries. You have this kind of compete with each other, and this kind of having like a kind of competition with each other. And people attain their goals only if the other person will die, or will leave that position, or will leave this kind of game. So I think we have experienced Squid Game, not in a violent way, but I think Matilda will agree with me. In a corporate job, you get this kind of competition, and people who hate you, or who wants to run over you and fire you, or I don't know. So I think it's also the society structure that you are in. And let's just not forget also South Korea. They have their high performance, high pressure to get their kids into this high level universities, prestigious universities. I want to be on the top. So also the South Korean system too. It's a very competitive system.
Yeah, it's good. It's
To,
good that you mentioned. It's good you mentioned that, because the failed banker. I'm going to the value thing that Carla and Matilda have been nodding their head to. The value thing. The South Korean failed banker went to Seoul University. So it was a prestigious university in South Korea, and he was applauded for doing that. But at the end of the day, he made some decisions we ran into an obscene amount of money. So, and the mom of the guy seems to be a very nice woman. So what values do you think is not being taught to this guy, Matilda?
just to, I'm going to read some comments, Victor. I just before I read the comments, I just want to point out we're overlooking one thing in the show. Everybody signed up fair enough. Then they did the first test. A load of people got put out of action. Sure. Then they decided, oh, well, let's end this. Okay. They did the vote. They all thought, no, think. A big percentage of them came back. Now that's the test on real morality, core values, and what really matters. Because even though they knew they could die, they saw it's better to maybe win, yeah, and put their family in joy. If they the high percentage that they're going to lose, because only one person can win. So if you've got 200 that come back, only one person can win. That's 1 out of 200 chance of winning, and you don't know the rules. So it's not like you're better. But they came back and they didn't care about their loved ones who, if they do fail with a high percentage of failing chance, then they're going to be putting them through pain and suffering. I'm sure their loved one would be more likely, just stay with me, don't worry about the money, we can sort it out. But just to read Anders' comment, sorry, we are all vulnerable at certain situations in life. We'll create a more human society if we understand that we all have vulnerabilities instead of belittling and to big judgment. If you get addicted or not is not about values, it's about individual genetic vulnerabilities and social conditions. Going on to Sharon down here, like some people in the panel, the society today unfortunately isn't encouraging people to getting out there and working hard. Society media as a contributor to this is just the reason why people just jump in.
Oh, Sharon.
Okay, okay. Anders, it's
Uh,
that went way over my
we,
head. It's easy to understand why desperate people take bad decisions. Now tell me how privileged people can be completely driven by ruthless greed. And the last comment, Anders, they came back. That was an illustration of the American dream. I don't know how it's an illustration of American dream because it's written by Koreans and it's made in Korea. So I think we're on the wrong side of the globe there, but you can always explain more. Back to you, Victor.
yeah.
And by
Um,
the way, Korea is a strong ally of the United States, so that might have something to do with it, you know. And
Nelson, please. Nelson,
I'll just leave it at
please.
that. Britain also helped out Korea a lot in the second, you know, in the Korean conflict. But you know, I
Okay.
digress. And Colombia too. Viva Colombia and Korea. There you go. Back to you, Victor.
yeah. No. I was just
Vámonos.
going to. I was just like
Oh, wait a minute.
taking
And
this.
Scotland too. Carla too. Scotland was there too, and Jamaica. You know, I think there were some Arabs, Morocco, Matilda. Iran went too. Why not? Let's give some credit over there. All
I
right, Victor.
think
Let's go to
Carla's
you.
got something to say there.
Yeah. No. Before Carla, let's go to Matilda. Matilda. Yeah, I was explaining about the failed banker and the value system from the mom.
Well, I think the mom was an amazing mother. But I think what was missing in that child, in that young man, a successful young man in a sense, I think the sense of responsibility to his mother. Um, you know, it's interesting. A lot of people, immigrants, that they come to America from certain cultures. I've heard that from a psychology magazine, that they come as a student to America because they know their parents are working very hard. They never go to wrong. They never do wrong decisions. They even don't even go to the wrong parties because they feel responsible what their parents gonna think because they sacrifice so much for them. They cannot do wrong things or the illegal things, even if the parents are not seeing them. So I think that sense that what will my mom think, what if I do this wrong, it was missing in that guy. And it was very, it showed in the show as well because he wasn't visiting the mom a lot. For my culture, that's like, what? Or he wasn't doing a lot of sacrifice for the mom. So a big value was, a love value was missing.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead, Carla.
Yeah, I was going to comment on something similar to that actually, based on something that Anders said, which I think is really interesting. It was this comment where he says, if you get addicted or not, it is not about values, it's about individual genetic vulnerabilities and social conditions. And I disagree with that. And I understand why some people say that, because there is a genetic element to addiction in the sense of how the brain develops, which we see from early childhood development, and also social conditions have a role to play in that, as shown in the research by Gabor Mate. But actually, there are lots of people who, for example, may have a genetic predisposition, which has been claimed by science a lot in recent years, that you have a genetic predisposition to gambling or a genetic predisposition to addiction. And that your social conditions also exacerbate this. It's the whole nature and nurture debate. But actually, behavior is a powerful thing. And choice is also a powerful thing. So although you may be born in an addicted environment, you may be born with these so-called vulnerabilities or genetic predispositions to things, you don't have to fall prey to them. And I think it's a very dangerous message when we tell people these things in society. And it has been marketed quite heavily, this idea of science governing everything. And some people are just a victim of their genes and a victim of their environment. I think that's a dangerous message. And I think it does contribute not only to increases in these kinds of behaviors, but also in a kind of a victim and defeatist mindset once people get into these behaviors. So just because, for example, I'll use my own example. My mother was an alcoholic. I was actually born drunk. I'm not an alcoholic. Despite the whole predisposition and all the statistics, I've heard hundreds of statistics in my time that have said that I should actually be an addict. I'm not an alcoholic and I'm not an addict to anything else. Why? And I would say because of two things. The first thing, and it wasn't environment or social conditions. I came from a terrible environment and social conditions. It was because of values and choices in behavior. And I think that those are things that people really need to have emphasized more. You can choose how you behave. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy. And you can also choose what environment to put yourself around so that you can counter things like genetic predispositions or negative environments.
Wow, that is very interesting. Which I like Simon too. Simon, I want you to like jump into
I
this.
want to jump in on what Carla's saying.
But before
Yeah.
you jump in, let me just tie this question into it because Carla just eloquently said about the choices that she has to make as an individual, not because of any genetic or environmental conditions. You get if it's environmental conditions, there will be no place for choice here and personal responsibility. So Simon,
Well,
how do we like make these choices? Because we keep blaming society, we keep blaming who is the society in the first place. But I'll let you think about that question while you respond to what Carla is saying.
well, well, I can combine them in both really. Marcus Garvey, Martin Luther King, are both descendants of slaves, and they've changed their environment, they influenced their environments, and they made the world a better place for people in general, including my race. So if it was based on what Anders is saying there, then we would all still be slaves because genetically we just were in slavery, and that's what it's going to be for another 400 years. But clearly, people have the ability to make their own decisions, and therefore they get out of their situation. Now, granted, some people do things. Some people are able to do things easier than others, even if they are in a tougher situation. They just manage to see the light and see the way out. Other people take longer, and that's I would debate to the cows come home whether that's an influence of your genetic. Because I have my old man was in jail. I have many family members who are in jail. I'm not in jail. My brothers have been in jail. My sister's both. Well, it's very likely women go to jail, but um, those are decisions we've made in life, and I look forward to making future positive decisions which help my loved ones around me. So that's what I would say to that. But just to throw in some comments, because this is comments. He's commented on crack here. He's on crack commented. So firstly, we've got Sharon. We've lost humanity. I don't think anyone was concerned about their families at all. It was a personal interest. I totally agree with that. Sorry about that science, but obviously we've responded to that. Thanks, Andrews. Half of my family is addicts. If you read it as an excuse, I think you interpret the information in the wrong way. All right, you can always explain more on that. I'm sure you will, Andrews. No, you shouldn't be an addict, but you have bigger risks to be addicted. I don't think Carla's disputing that. I think she's just saying that she's not exactly what thing. I don't live as an addict either, but the statistics is still true. I think I'll let Carla had you on that one again, Andrew. Um, how many were there? Two. How many others died on the way, Simon? I'm a bit confused with that. Maybe someone could point out what he's referring to. Thomas, you are who your friends are. My best friend was the oldest child from 8 kids. He had a single mum, all A's plus in exams. A gentleman and a beast. The toughest man. He taught all of us respect and why your mum is better. Then you will You will never. Sorry, I need to bring glasses. Sorry, I'm meant to be wearing glasses, people, and I've been trying to fight it, and now I realize I need it. You will
The
never
age is
forget.
catching up. The age
You
is
will never
catching up.
forget the day he changed my life. I was 15 on that day. So normally I have a massive 49-inch screen. Today I have a laptop, and the truth is come. Martin Luther King and Garvey Simon. All right, Andy,
Yeah.
you've lost me,
Hey,
but
hey,
I'll
hey,
pass you back over to the
hey,
team.
hey, Victor, would it be okay if we did our next episode on male vanity? With that, with I mean, with how many people here would like that episode, male vanity? Okay, let's. Can I get a shout out from the audience? How many of you would like an episode on male vanity? Okay.
Right,
All right. Okay, Victor, over to
right.
you.
Yeah, thank you. See, I've asked the audience this question, but I'd like to throw it out to you guys. Who wants to go in? Who wants to jump in? What does get rich quick means to all of you on this panel? Nelson, take a first crack at this.
You know, first of all, yeah, yes, here in the United States, it's all the, you probably watch a YouTube channel, all these programs. You can make $1 million on Amazon and all this kind of stuff. And, one of my mentors said to me, Nelson, it's not get rich quick, it's just get rich. There really is no time frame with it. And rich is a very relative term, right? What does that mean to you? What does that mean to the individual? And then as far as quick, again, quick is relative. There's people that I know that have taken what somebody would say is a long time, but that's relative too, right? Why? Because you're you're still going to go through these X number of years or decades, and hopefully maybe even more, right? So it's a question of how can how can I make my time be worthwhile? How can I make my effort have a great payoff at the end? Okay, or in my life, maybe not at the end, but so so that's the whole thing about get rich. It's not get rich quick. It's just get rich. It's just that's all there is to it. The quick is some kind of gimmick at the end to get you to buy something or do something. So I just leave it at that.
Yeah, Hala, do you think
Just
do
to
you think
jump
what
in
Nelson
there,
says is right?
Uh, well, actually, quick money can cost you a lot of things. Like we have seen in the show, it could cost your well-being, your family, or even your life. So if you are going to that road to that quick money thing, you need to determine which kind of area you are willing to give up to, and the values you are willing to give up to get that quick money, which is not really worth it. But yeah, that's what I'm saying about the quick money.
we
All
just
right,
got
all
some
right, all right.
comments there, and I would like to say I do look good in my glasses, so forget the vanity. But we've got one comment from Omiti. He says, "Yeah, male vanity is." Thomas says, "Yes, I'm." Who's it?
Oh, come on, Thomas. He
Yeah.
said, I am gorgeous. Yes, you
Okay.
are.
Now we've got a new person here, Fahan. I hope I'm saying that right.
Faraha.
Faha, Faha, hi Faha.
Faha. Okay, that's nice. Hi, sorry, Faha. Learned something today. A name. Squid Games is the one of the most darkest and gruesomest thriller ever made. It's a bit debatable. It reflects darkest urges humans may have and how these urges can be fed with reinforcer. Here it was more money. Some people were in there for money and selfishness. Some were driven to save their loved ones. That's true. Some wanted to solve their financial problems. The old man, however, was there to find that one person who may put the money to good use to have fun, fulfillment, or even that. I don't actually remember. I remember the old man, but I don't remember what he was there about. So it's a nice reminder.
That's
Yeah,
very
I'm
funny.
the
it's
I'm a
funny.
recent study amongst teenagers killers in Sweden. Interesting. Half of them were diagnosed with ADHD, but skipped medicine and other types of support. Now, I would debate with you for ages about this ADHD because that attention deficit disorder, I say this: if you put kids in front of a PlayStation, they can focus for 24 hours. But suddenly, if you put them in something they're not interested in, they've got ADHD. So that's all I'm going to say. So we're running out of time. That's my point. Back to you, Victor.
Yes, yes, yeah. So yeah, I really like that, because this labeling is kind of getting out of hand sometimes, and
Sorry,
I
Victor.
wouldn't want to
I
go
just
there too far.
realised I missed out somebody. Solo, I agree with Simon. Oh, thank you. And Carla. Oh, yeah, all right. You're with me, love. On the contrary, some people take genetics as an excuse to get away with the behavior. It's all about the choices and choosing right and wrong. Being born wrong doesn't mean you can't do right. And I agree with that because many times I get the little devil tell me, just run over that person or do something drastic. And I go, no, no. But anyway, back to you, Victor.
Yeah, we'll be talking about just let's run. We don't have enough time right now, so let's go into the different characters, different human characters that were displayed on the show, you know, and in real life. To me, I look at it this way: that are we even playing the Squid Game in our own lives right now because we are not going to make it out alive, anyways. So, spoiler alert on that. We are not going to make it out alive. Whether we try to maneuver 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, we're still going to get smashed out of the game. So, but Nelson, just 1 second. We've got the bully. We've got a smart one who took advantage of people. We've got the good guy but naive who was taken advantage of. We've got the rude, the coolest, the strong. We've got all kind of the clinger. So, Matilda, can you just the type of characters that you notice on the show?
Before, if someone's interested in the characters of the game, I think what fascinated me was this book that I read a couple of years ago, and I think Dr. Peterson is talking about this book as well. It's called Ordinary Man, and the book is written by Christopher Browning, and it's a reality. It talks about 500 Nazi soldiers, and it's the characters and what happened that they do what they did. And I think the director of this Squid Game, I'm sure he read that because the characters are based on it. And when you look at humanity in that tragic way, you really understand who humans are, not the rosy way as you think, but and you realize when people need to choose, when a mother, and in this book that I explained, it talks about it in genocide, when a mother needs to choose which child will live and the other one must die. It's a terrible situation when a human being is inputted in, but that human being is capable of making those choices. It's a book when you read, your spine will shake. So when you watch this Squid Game, you really realize it's based on our human characters. We can think that we are good human beings, but when the situation dictates what we're going to do, what we're going to choose. And it's a question that you have to ask from yourself when you read that book and when you're watching this game. For me, I like the character of the North Korean girl because for me it's an absolute must, and I hope that I can teach that to my child as well, that you do things for your family, you sacrifice for your family, you lot of things you don't even consider your what you want for your mom, for your dad, for your siblings, for the person that you love, for your friend. So the North Korean girl for me was a fantastic character, and I was sad that she died. I wanted her to live and to do amazing things in the world. The main character actually was very similar to the front man. And I think in the second season, he's capable of becoming a front man or the host the old guy. I saw a resemblance in it. The old guy was taking money from poor people, and him, the main character of the young guy, the 45-year-old one, was taking money from his mom, stealing money from his mom. So, and not caring about your immediate family. He didn't care about his daughter. He didn't feel responsible. He didn't feel responsible for his mother, but he cared about the cat and the friends in the camp. I don't understand the logic behind it. When you don't teach your child the people who are your immediate family, that they've done so much for you, you have to, you're responsible for them first, and then the rest of the society. We have a wishy-washy society, like the people who were in the game. Um, yeah, I just wish the Korean girl won, or the other girl, the two girls, the other girl that dedicated her life for the Korean girl to win the game. I think it was beautiful.
We've got a lot of
Yeah.
comments now, so I'll just smash out some of these comments quickly. Um, that's the thing with ADHD, Simon. If you read more about the diagnosis, it's called hyperfocus. That's totally another name. Why do why do so many people choose to be poor and miserable choices? Um, Get rich to me are schemes that make people think they can make money fast, but not necessarily
And
via the right way.
the name
Way
is
or
Orishamato San Ometie.
okay, thank you, Victor. Um, or right way or honest way. Hey, all right, we've got Mr. Infinity. Great podcast, guys. Would V love to comment? Beautiful talk. Unfortunately, V to do more listening to commented. Work duty calls and V um, been driving. Kudos, good. Shalom. Okay. Can
Simon, do
I?
you need energy drink?
Yeah, colonization, Squid Games in real life. You have to read Victor Frankenstein, Holocaust survivor, and then here's Victor's mate again. The Squid Game shows us how us humans truly are in real life. Nice show today, guys. I have enjoyed it. That's great. Um, Short and quick, get rich quick means risks it all for early riches, which is quite dangerous for someone because life is not all about getting rich. People should change their perspectives of richness and being successful. And the last comment from Anders, what I've learned from today is that 1,000 scientists can quit their job addiction is not a mix between genetics and social factors, its values. ADHD is not a real thing, it's good or bad choices. Okay, that's Anders on his comments. Now back to you, Victor.
Yeah, Hala, go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to add about what Matilda said about the characters, and there were mainly one character. She was annoying in the beginning. The girl who was searching for a partner for a game, and no one wants to be with her. And she went to the main character and she said to him, "Please let me in with you guys. I will show you that could make you win." And everyone were rejecting her. No one wants to be with her, and that shows that there are people who wants to have opportunities but they can't have because of the societies they live in, and they do miss a lot of opportunities because they don't have the support nor the baggage to have that opportunities. So yeah, I just wanted to point out that scene about that woman who was begging for people to be in the team.
What can I just address that, Howler? What I would say, I hear what you're saying, but it could be looked at also that the woman was too weak to be able to make sure that she got heard because it's about communication. That remember the man on the glass who says, "I used to work in the glass shop and I can tell the difference between tempered glass and thing."
Yes.
He waited until a certain amount of people died and then he started to do it, but he made sure he was heard when it was necessary to him. So if that woman was any, a strong personality or she really meant something, she would have found a way to I've done this before or whatever to get people to listen. But back to you,
Yeah,
Victor.
can we hear you, Nelson?
Yeah. So what I want is just two things. First of all, on the get rich quick part, right? So get rich quick is something very relative, right? It's very relative. So let's say a person says, "Well, I want to get rich quick," but if you look at a lifespan of a person, right? I mean, now it's normal to live to 70, 80 years, and if you're fit and healthy, you can hit 100 and be in shape. But if a person dedicates themselves to endeavor, right? At some point, the fourth or fifth one, they're going to get it right. Maybe the 10th one. But still, we're looking at only maybe 10 years of a life, 15 years. And in the big picture of things, let's say they live up to 100. Heck, that's only 15% of their life. So again, it all depends on what's the definition of get rich quick, right? It all depends on that definition of what is get rich quick. Is it overnight success or is it something over a period of time, and we're all gonna still live through this period of time? So that's the first thing I just wanted to mention about the get rich quick. It's just get rich quick is something to hook us in, and then the last thing is we talk about that only one out of 200. I guess it to me it'd be even more interesting is one is if we can have the wits about us to change the dynamics of the game, right? What do I mean by that? Say, look, this is a game where we all have to win, and right? I mean, I was in kind of a Squid Game situation once where it was like either everybody wins or everybody loses, and I was like, what the hell was that? I'm going to put the odds in my favor. Everybody wins, right? So it's like you're in a lifeboat. There's only a certain amount of space, but just change the dynamics. Everybody is going to survive. So it just we have to be willing to ask that option three. What Matilda was saying about the mom's got to make a choice. Sometime create the third choice is we're all coming home. We're all coming home. So I just wanted to share that. Sometimes it's creating a new environment, creating a new reality.
All right, that is really interesting. Of creating your own options, creating more options for yourself. And I believe, see, we've spoke a lot about the morality of the Squid Game and its darkness, its human, the dark side of human beings. So, and there's a lot to be not desired, but to be learned from the way this show is being displayed for us. So, what exactly, if I look into solutions now, what do you think will be the solution? Just 2 minutes, guys, because we'll be running up very soon. Simon, one word. What do you think will be a solution for humanity or individuals moving forward?
There's no solution. People are unpredictable. No, there's not. People are unpredictable. Listen, I want money. If there's a certain amount of money, if there's a cake on the table, there's always someone who wants more than the other person, and that person will justify. Well, you're fat, you're too small, you're very skinny, but it looks like you're not going to last a week, so you don't need it. People are always going to justify for their own ish things, and you're going to get the nice people. You're going to get a mix, and there's no. The world's never going to be perfect, and that's the beauty of the world. You get all kind of characters that you navigate, and it's all about the journey. Back to you, Victor.
Just a quick one, 1 minute as well. Matilda, do you think being kind is still cool?
Yeah, of course, being kind is very cool. And as Simon says, and it's very strange that I'm agreeing with Simon this much today. I don't know what happened. It's raining in LA. uh, I think you will always have cool people. You will always have kind people, and you will have ugly people as well. This is the history of humanity. This is the history of the world. You always have the dark and the light. So it's beautiful. Both of them is necessary to have in a society.
Okay, that's fair enough. Yeah, Hala, what about Just a quick one here. I know you don't like talk you like talking much about these corporates, corporate
Yeah.
greed,
Yeah.
capitalism, and co. Well, entrepreneurs will save the world, and when there's too much money in the system, people kind of some few people indulge. So,
Well,
oh,
I think listening to Nelson and Simon is very different because Nelson is saying we need to have a third solution as having like more cooperative society and cooperative people helping each other, which is does not reflect in the society because what we see in most of countries is a competition, and also we educate kids to be competitive with other kids, to have the highest scores, to be the best in sports, in arts, in economy. And I have seen also a paper about competition versus cooperative society, and they say in the United States, for example, to have an economic prosperity, we need to have competition in sports, in arts, in science. So also the competition in between people could lead to an aggressive behavior, and this is article is explained from Pennsylvania University. They talk about the different form of competition and cooperative society and what the consequences can lead. And last thing I want to say is I know it's a taboo thing, but the ban of gambling has been underlined in all religions about banning the gambling and money games, and because they are harmful to people, and it's not to limit them for their happiness, but it's really to protect the humanity people from gambling. And as we see, all of religions they ban gambling. So and what we discussed also the values and ethics that you are standing on. So back to you, Victor.
okay, cool, cool, cool. Nelson, just do you think there will ever be a level playing field, fair playing field? A quick one.
I mean, well, first of all, that's a yes no question, right? So I can make it real quick. Um, but I don't think that you don't want it to be that quick. So can there ever be a level playing field? Um, the answer really is no. It can never be level. However, you can get the players to make it level, right? You can get the players to make it level. You can just become a better player at the game. All right. You can just become a better player at the game. That's something we have control over. So there, we can be better players at the game. So um, you look at the best soccer players, right? You wouldn't think they would be the best soccer players. They're little bitty guys, right? But they're little bitty guys, but they're the best at the game. You'd think it'd have to be some guy with long legs and long, right? No, it's not. It's the total opposite. It's these little guys. So they just became better at the game. So there's that. And then the other thing is about competition and cooperation. They're not mutually exclusive. Okay, you can have a lot of competition and you can have a lot of cooperation. It's the underlying values of those groups, right? So you can have a lot of competition and a lot of cooperation. They're not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, if you talk about competition and economic, I would say there's a book that comes to mind, the Adventures Confessions of an Economic Hitman. You know,
Hmm.
it goes around just like creating playing fields for his, benefactors. But let's move forward. Um, any last words, Matilda? Have I spoken to you yet?
I like to talk. Any
Yeah.
opportunity is good. I think we should teach our children values and principles. This is, I think, doesn't matter what society we are in. If we have good values and good principles, we can survive in a good way. So we don't have that much of a control on capitalism or different societies that much as an individual. but we have the capacity to teach our children values that are important, that even if you're in an environment that people are using drugs, but you don't do drugs, because if you ruin your life, you're ruining your parents' life as well. You're or if you gonna get rich fast, but are you gaining respect? You need to be respected in your own family, and your hard work is the respect that you're gonna earn. So I think I'm teaching children values. Forget about the society. What I can do at home to my children is important.
Wow, you took that. You took that. Yeah, because I was going to end with values, speaking to Carla, because she mentioned value, and she's the queen of values in this our lineup today, and not just today, but for always. She keeps reminding us of value, value, value. Value trumps everything for her. But from what you're saying, Matilda, there's a guy in the character who was a good guy, very naive, well brought up from Pakistan, and he got killed because he was, well brought up.
No,
So,
he got killed because he was stupid. I'm sorry.
whoa,
He got,
you see,
uh, he was dumb. You cannot survive
ah,
in a society. Being naive, it's not amazing. Naivete is not an amazing quality. I need to know what the world is, but I choose the right path. That we need to teach our children, not naivete. This guy was naive at the beginning of the show. It shows like he goes to his boss saying, "Oh, where's my money? Where's my money?" The boss is saying, "Oh, go ask around and see who got the money." So the guy, dumb, goes back to ask the people. And that's how he got killed as well. It's amazing how the show was showing. If you don't. Um, if you don't fix your shortcomings, the shortcomings will come and bite you at the end. Um, it was amazing. All the characters died based on their shortcomings. If you look at the whole show, that's how it happens at the end. Kind of the karma catch them up. Um, so no, you have to teach your children there are bad people, there are good people, there are people who are capable of doing this. But you're my son, you're my child, and you're gonna do this way because this is the right way. This is how you're gonna have my respect, the family respect, and the love that you need.
okay, great. Carla, let's hear from you because I think good people, he died.
I agree with her. I absolutely agree with her.
His
I was thinking,
marbles were taken away.
no, I was thinking about the word wisdom, because wisdom is very underrated. It's a very old-fashioned word, right? So, but wisdom is a very important quality to have in life, and it tends to be something you get with age, actually, or with experience. And to be wise is, like Matilda said, is to understand the realities of the world that you live in, and not be naive. And I do agree with her in the point where she says it's very important to teach it to children from a young age for them to understand the reality of the world, understand choices, and understand the importance of making choices, and that choices come with consequences. And on either side, the consequences aren't always good. So, for example, when we're talking about getting rich quick, or if we're talking about pursuing wealth in general, there are always going to be costs involved with the decisions that you make. And sometimes the greater the risk, the greater the cost. Does that mean that you don't go for it? No, it doesn't. But it means that you have to be realistic about what you expect when you do that. So I agree with Matilda, and we've had so many good comments, so many important things. I want to highlight the book that Anders talked about, Mankind's Search for Meaning. Can we put it up? And bring out a point as well that's connected to values, which is having a greater purpose. I think that when you have a greater purpose in life, which is what that Victor, is it, what was the, no, it was the Mankind's Search.
Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for
Victor
Meaning.
Yeah,
Frankl,
Man's
Man's Search
Search
for
for
Meaning.
Meaning by Viktor Frankl. So it's a very interesting book, and we talked about it quite a few times, but it talks primarily about identifying a purpose in life, because life is not easy. It's very difficult. And in this book in particular, the man went through such a horrific situation. I won't spoil it for you if you haven't read the book, but he had a really bad life, a hard life. And how he was able to overcome that was to identify a greater purpose, something that he could feel positive about, and that he could use also to visualize or to get himself through those tough times and think of a greater future. And that does connect to values as well very closely, because if you're able to do that, identify a bigger purpose, you can make better choices, you can get through tough times, and you can avoid things like the desperation that we talked about or that Squid Game shows. I also think I don't want to skip over the point about what Farha said, following on from Howler, where she says that she strongly agrees about the concept of banning money games. Now, in capitalist societies, it's very unlikely that you would have a ban on money games or have a ban on things like exorbitant interest rates, which is quite often another factor that's overlooked when people have debts. There is their bad choices with money, their lack of financial education, but then there's also the interest that people get charged, which can make your debts even worse. But I don't think that we would see a society where gambling is outlawed. I know it's been tried in some countries, but it's just driven underground because it's a human nature thing. But also the banking systems are significant parts of the banking systems are based on debt and almost get a kind of a financial game. And if you don't know the rules, you can get into serious problems with money, even just using regular banking. But I do think people need to set their own rules for their own lives. If you know, for example, that your value system, for me, my value system doesn't allow me to gamble. And it doesn't matter what my financial situation is, I will not be involved in gambling. And I teach my children the same thing. Whether they listen or not, that's different because that's their choice. But you do have to determine your own playing field when the world doesn't have a playing field that aligns with what you believe or what your greater value system or your purpose in life is. So, yeah, they're just some points that I was mulling over as you guys were talking.
All right, cool. Yeah, we could sit down here and you know how we do it on the backstage. We can talk for like an hour, 2, 3, 4 hours and keep going, keep going, keep going. But let's just put some, consideration to our audience who have been with us. And we are very, very grateful for everyone that has contributed from Anders, Thomas, Renee, Farah. Is it Farah? Farah? Yeah. Faha. Sorry about that. But Faha. And who? Tosan, thank you. Mr. Infinity, thank you for listening to us. And maybe we'll consider on our next topic, which will be hosted by Nelson about male, male vanity. Yeah. If you want us to do that show, just just send us a message and we will definitely do that for you. And I would now like for my co-host, my lovely co-host, to like introduce the podcast and where you can link up with them personally. If you connect with them, link up with them personally. And Simon, let's hear introduce yourself and your podcast.
Thank you, Victor. Simon Rushton, Taxi Chronicles. I interview people when they get into the taxi. They tell me all their intimate and interesting life stories about their journey of life, and hope that your personal life will be enhanced upon listening to it. It's short, it's 5 to 20 minutes. There's over 600 of them now. So it's something there for everybody. And we publish it every day at 8 a.m. British Standard Time. Over to you, Carla.
My podcast is the Wonder and Wellbeing Podcast, which is a podcast for parents and teachers of kids between the ages of 5 and 14 years old. And you can find a range of episodes about all sorts of stuff. And I do mention quite a lot in those episodes about values and things related to values and how to teach them in a practical way. So if you want to check those episodes out, go ahead and do that. Over to you, Howler.
My podcast is about women with stories who rose above different challenges, difficulties without gambling. So if you want to be inspired by successful stories, tune in Women Stories Podcast on Spotify and other podcast platforms. Over to you, Nelson.
Okay, this is Nelson here, and if somebody could mute themselves, that would be greatly appreciated. Okay, all right. My podcast is called Investing in America. And by the way, yes, we do talk about risk. So it's not a gamble if you can mitigate those risks, right? You want to be able to mitigate those risks and then It's less of a gamble. You still got to gamble, right? We also talk about relationships as it pertains to a business because getting into a relationship is a gamble. So that's important. And that is about it. Over to you, Matilda.
And my podcast is Coffee with Matilda, a journey to self. We talk about self love, self discovery, and coming out of adversity. It's in all the podcast platforms and YouTube and Facebook. Over to you, Victor.
Thank you, Matilda. And I'm Victor Osio. I'm the host of the Diaspora Entrepreneurs Podcast. I have conversations with successful entrepreneurs from the African and Caribbean diaspora community, how they move from the 9 to 5 towards the lifestyle of freedom, how they see their own success. So that is, and you can find my podcast on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, even on YouTube. You can find us and check out my newly launched website today, thediasporashifts.com. So, one last word from me before I let you guys go is that remember, life is for the living, according to Simon Rustin. Life is for the living. So, whatever decision you make today, just know that it's going to wait for you in a year time, 2 years time, 3 years time. So they all add up. So make good decisions, not just because of today, but because of tomorrow and the people it might affect. So, and from us here, not diaspora entrepreneurs, but from us here, Podcasters Unleashed, we say thank you very much for hanging out with us and bye for now. See you